If you have questions or suggestions for future podcasts, please submit them in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It is better to supply than to demand. Hi, I'm Dave Arnott, the Christian Economist. Your name. Okay, what's your name? Even more interesting, what's it mean? That's the beginning of an exercise I do in class at Dallas Baptist University. Now, if your last name is Mill, like the philosopher John Stuart Mill, someone in your lineage ran the mill. If it's Smith, like that guy, Adam Smith, someone was a blacksmith or a tinsmith or a silversmith. Farmer is obvious, as is shoemaker. A cooper made wooden barrels, and a vinegar tended a vineyard where they made wine. Examples go on and on. So at one time in history, people had no choice. If your dad ran the mill, you were going to run the mill. If your dad was a farmer, you're going to be a farmer. But in modern life, people have a choice. Historically, women really had no choice. It is estimated that at the time of Jesus, women had to have 9 pregnancies to produce one child who had reached the age of reproduction to keep the population stable. Think about it. If women averaged 8, we wouldn't be here. So in modern times, women have been freed to pursue any field of economic production they choose. When Jesus first started preaching, they asked, "Who is this man? And where is he from?" See, in New Testament times, a person's identity was tied to his family lineage and his geography. In John 1:46, Nathanael asked, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" In his book, Jesus Among Other Gods, Ravi Zacharias makes this point. When he would lecture back in his home country of India, he was known for his family's lineage, which really was quite impressive. My paternal grandmother's family lived on the Thames River just south of London. Since they lived at the water, the family name was Atwater. My title today, It's Better to Supply Than Demand, is a rewording of the old bromide, it is better to give than to receive. I sometimes use that quip in a quite sarcastic way when handing out a quiz to my students at Dallas Baptist University. Get it? Better to give than to receive a test? Supply side versus demand side. Okay, the field of economics can be divided into 2 groups, Austrians and Keynesians. I'm an Austrian, following the lead of Ludwig von Mises, then Friedrich Hayek, that guy, and Milton Friedman. We believe in growing the pie via producing on the supply side. That's why we're called supply-siders. Keynesians follow John Maynard Keynes, who is succeeded by Paul Samuelson and Paul Krugman, and now just about every political operative on the left who wants to redistribute the supply of goods and services. They believe in dividing the pie by distributing goods on the demand side, thus they're called demand-siders. In podcast 116, titled The Resurgence of Socialism, I point out that socialists are great at demand, but terrible at supplying demand. So here's the interesting part. Carl Trueman is a theologian from the UK who teaches at Grove City College in Pennsylvania. There he is with my DBU president, Dr. Adam Wright, during an appearance at my university recently. In his chapel speech at DBU, he invoked the same concept I use in class, that some last names indicate job titles, Mill, Smith, Farmer, Shoemaker, etc. Okay? And he said that historically, that's where we received our identity. But now, we receive more of our identity from what we consume. So our identity has changed from production to consumption, from supply to demand. We get our identity from the car we drive, the house we live in, the sports and concert tickets we purchase, even from the university or church we attend. Carl Trueman also wrote the best book I've read this year. The title is The Rise and Triumph of the Modern Self. But that subject does not apply to my theme today, so watch for that unpacking in a later podcast. And good news for non-theologians like me, there is a shorter version of his book under another name. You can look it up. Image of God. Okay, we're supposed to gain our identity from our relationship with God. Okay, I'll admit, in a social group, when asked what I do, I've never responded, I'm a follower of Christ. I get it. What we do is important, but Carl Trueman has me thinking about which of the do's I should concentrate on. Supplying or demanding? See, if you love your neighbor, you will supply her with products and services she demands. If you love yourself, you'll make a profit while doing so. You see, this indicates that the production of goods serves others first. Then the supplier gets served. Walmart's a classic example. They buy the land, they erect a building, they hire labor, and they stuff about, $4 million worth of goods into the store. That's before selling a single item. They are serving their fellow humans first by supplying their demands. Then they get served last. But we get too much of our identity from what we consume. Marketers know this. They play on our disease, which can be broken into two parts, dis-ease. The obvious appeals are to looks, cosmetics, perfume, even plastic surgery. All say to the consumer, your dis-ease can be cured by our product or service. The automobile industry is almost insulting in their claim. Your dis-ease will be cured by driving this sports car or that pickup truck. God doesn't want us to get our image from a piece of steel or plastic that we demand. He wants us to get our image from our relationship with Him. Passion is overrated. Sometimes just before graduation, I show a 5-minute PragerU video to my seniors featuring Mike Rowe, the dirty jobs guy. It's titled, Don't Follow Your Passion. His reason is different from mine. He says, you might not be good at your passion. My reason? Because seeking your passion satisfies you. Whoever said life was about you? According to the Christian worldview, it's about serving others. Again, if you love your neighbor, you will supply her products and services she demands. If you love yourself, you'll make a profit while doing so. It is so clear that the biblical command of serving others brings more life satisfaction than serving yourself. And that's what Mike Rowe is talking about. Here's a quote from Peter Drucker. Quality in a service or product is not what you put into it. It's what the customer gets out of it. That's especially true in Christian economics. Karl Marx thought prices should be set by the amount of labor put into something. And he was obviously wrong. The market demander determines the value of the product or service, not the supplier. Every good endeavor. In his book by that title, Tim Keller writes, many young people see the process of career selection more as the choice of an identity marker than a consideration of gifting and passions to contribute to the world. He goes on to write that occupational choices are driven by the cool factor. It sounds cool to study law or work for a nonprofit that's going to try to save the world. But the question is, were you called to study law or save the world? I often visit with high school seniors and their parents who are at Dallas Baptist University on kind of a tire-kicking visit, if you know what I mean. I tell them that if they're looking at my College of Business because their dad or uncle was in business, that's a very bad reason. And it's equally bad if they're buddies across the hall with the College of Christian Faith group because they're trying to please their very cool high school pastor. Now, when our athletes take the court at DBU, they pass under a banner that reads, An Audience of One. The title of a chapter from a book by Os Guinness titled The Call. He explains in great detail that the only thing that would satisfy Andrew Carnegie's mother would be to ride in a lavishly decorated coach pulled by 6 white horses through the main street of Dunfermline, the little town in Scotland, where she left in embarrassment and penury. She wanted to show them she was now rich. What a waste of a life. Who are you trying to impress? That's the question I ask the high school students who are looking at Dallas Baptist University as a prospective university to attend. Now, how about this question? An audience of one. When our students graduate at Dallas Baptist University, we all show up in the most formal setting on campus. It's the Bo and Patty Pilgrim Chapel. As a student faces our president, Dr. Adam Wright, and locks eyes with him while receiving his diploma, what I want to know is, who's out there? Yeah, in the audience. Who did you do this for? We all have an answer to the question. Wouldn't it be more appropriate to ask, who's up there? See, I think it's fantastic. When a baseball player hits a home run, he often circles the bases. As he steps on home plate, he points upward. See, that's the point Carl Trueman is making when he asks about supply or demand. What is your motivation in supplying or demand? Is it, hey, look at what I bought? which is on the demand side? Or is it, hey, look what I gave, which is on the supply side? In the Christian worldview, we believe our work command starts in creation. God is seen working in the very first chapter of Genesis. Adam and Eve have work to do. Now, John Calvin's key verse was Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, work. I like to stop there sometimes. But the scripture continues. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord. So work is good. This is one of the 10 biblical commandments of economics that Sergei Seidamatov and I found when we were writing the book, Biblical Economic Policy. The value of work is when we serve others by supplying their demands. It's not when we demand things to impress others. Okay, another quote from Every Good Endeavor is appropriate here. Think of the cliche that nobody gets to the end of life and wishes they had spent more time at the office. It makes good sense, of course, up to a point. But here's a more interesting perspective. At the end of your life, will you wish that you had plunged more of your time, passion, and skills into work environments and products that helped people? It is better to supply than to demand. I'm Dave Arnott, the Christian Economist. Fear God, tell the truth, earn a profit. See you next time. For more information, please visit us online at davearnott.com. If you have questions or suggestions for future podcasts, please submit them online or in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.